Welcome to GoSimcha, the podcast that takes you on an in-depth approach to the Jewish music, entertainment, and simcha world. Now, here's your host, Zeesha Littman. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of GoSimcha, the podcast. We had so much fun recording the episode, but it couldn't have been done without the help of our sponsor, Keren Simchas Chassan V'Kalos. We're going to take a minute to hear a little bit more about them. The following episode of GoSimcha, the podcast, is proudly sponsored by Keren Simchas Chassan V'Kala. Keren Simchas Chassan V'Kala was founded over 25 years ago and is based in Brooklyn, New York. KSCVK helps widows, orphans, and people who are in dire need of marrying off a child. Working through their network of vendors, KSCVK ensures that every wedding is just as special as the next. Run by world-renowned party planner Devorah Benjamin, KSCVK takes care that each wedding is as elegant as the next one, ensuring dignity and class through every wedding that they put on. To donate to KSCVK, please visit their website, kscvk.org, today. That's kscvk.org, and help make someone's wedding special. Welcome back, everybody. I hope your Pesach was well. I know we were missed. I got a lot of emails from people saying, hey, how come there's no show over Pesach? That's okay. We all need a little break. And I'm so happy that we finally get to kick off episode 38 with a very special guest, especially right in time for Sefira. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with his music and his arrangements and his latest album. So I'd love to welcome the infamous Doni Gross to GoSimcha, the podcast, kicking off episode 38 right after Pesach. Doni, what's going on? Welcome to the show. I'm so happy I got you on right in the nick of time, too.
How are you? Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
I'm wonderful, actually. Actually, a bit hot. You know, it's close to 90 degrees out here in Beit Shemesh, but, you know, what can we do?
We could use some of that weather over here in New York.
I heard it's cold and dreary and, you know, typical New York weather, but yeah. So, but no, well, it's kind of funny, you know, it's kind of, you say it's cold, and is it raining out there in New York?
Not at the moment, but I see some rain on the forecast.
Well, just in time for your infamous Kumzitz In The Rain, I suppose. You go outside with your guitar. Sit. Oh, no guitar really, but you know. But anyways, Doni, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. I've heard a lot about you. A lot of your name is dropped around here on the podcast by some of our other guests, and so I wanted to get to know you. I mean, I know we've been back and forth. We've talked about a number of different things, but I want to get to know you and who you are and what you're all about. And I'm sure our listeners want to know what you are all about as well. So what's your story?
Sure. So I'm a music producer / arranger. And the way I got into music was actually as a composer.
Wow.
That I had songs. And so that's where the whole studio part started also, because I had songs. I wanted to record demos. So I bought some basic recording, some cheap recording equipment to record those demos so I could present to the singers. And at the same time, I started getting more into recording, and those two worlds sort of met. And it happens to be now I don't compose much, although I do have some songs out there, on different singers' albums. But now, most of my time is put into production, to producing and arranging and recording. And that's the general story.
That's pretty cool. So how long ago was this that you got started into the music business?
So, I got into recording in high school. That's when I started composing, and that's when I started, just recording. I didn't know what I was doing. And I was just, recording some demos. I actually listened back recently to some of that stuff, and it was, I don't know, it was hard to even listen.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. When you listen to your earlier stuff, you're like, wow, I can't believe I sound like that. It's funny. I do it with some of our shows. I do it with some of our episodes over here. Like, I listened to the first episode we ever did, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I sounded like that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely, everything is a work in progress, and in order to get to places, you got to start somewhere. So
exactly,
I have no regrets at all, and so that's how things started. And then as time went on, I started doing more recordings, first for other people, demos, and then smaller productions, and then slowly I started doing work for other people, and then started producing my own stuff.
Nice. And you have a lot of notable people underneath under your auspices. I know you have Joey Newcomb, and some others. Who else records by you? Who else have you arranged music for?
Right, so there's different things. There are albums that I produced and arranged, like for example, Joey Newcomb and Shlomo Simcha. I produced and arranged the last Shalshalas album. And then there's also people that I, record for. I don't produce. I don't, like, for example, Mordechai Shapiro does a lot of his vocals by me. Mm-hmm. So, I don't produce him, and I don't necessarily do his music. But still there are artists that are recording by me. So, there's obviously a lot of elements into production.
Right.
People are confused. What exactly is a producer? What is an arranger? What is an engineer? What is a studio? So there's a lot of different factors, and so there are different projects. I'm involved on from a different angle, have a role in different projects. But those were some of the names that I've actually produced. But yeah, I've worked with a lot of.
So the production side of thing has always intrigued me, and I know we had Jan Frater on the show a few episodes back, and he really enlightened us and really gave us some insight into that world. So what you want to explain a little bit about the production side of things, because we all of us out here only know the finished product, but what really goes on when you're creating an album? Like, what's the process? Or creating a song or anything, what's the process behind that? It must be a fun creative process, and then finally getting it done. Like, what's the
Sure, definitely. It's definitely a process, and the producer really is the one that is driving the car, so to say. He's really taking the chrayas of the album, and he's taking the he's in charge of make sure everything gets, not just that everything gets done. It's not just to be on top of everyone, but it's also to take his creative vision. Meaning that, obviously, today we're going to talk about an Acapella album, but let's talk about a music album first, because there's definitely more layers and more, aspects to that. So an average production, the producer has to find the songs that fit the singer. They have to, either sit with composers or get composers to sing them songs, send them songs, or get composers to actually write songs for them. So that, that takes a long time, the back and forth of just getting the composition before anything. Once they get that composition from the composer, the producer then, tries to find an arranger who's actually going to record the music or arrange the music, depending, if it's electronic or if it's acoustic, depending on what's going to happen, and find the right arranger for the right song, and give him his creative input. And usually that process also back and forth. They send drafts, and then there's tweaking it and getting it to exactly you want it. After that, usually when you have the music, you go record vocals. So you usually have a studio engineer who's engineering the session. The producer is usually there also coaching the vocalist, and that also can be a very tedious process. There's songs that need to be recorded many times until they're actually done. I've had songs that, a day before print, we weren't happy with the vocal. We redid things.
Wow.
So there's definitely a lot of that tedious and back and forth, and a lot of hours and a lot of money goes into the stuff. And which is also important for the listeners to know, because I know, unfortunately, Jewish music is, from a sales perspective, is not what it was. Even I've seen in the last 5 years just a decline, and it keeps going down. And there's been obviously more of a shift towards streaming. Platforms like Spotify and Google Play and Apple Music. It happens to be, I know I've been getting a lot of emails and texts and people reaching out to me on social media regarding my new album. How come it's not on Spotify, and when it's going to be music? And unfortunately, just the way it is, I know for me, for this album, it's very hard for the Jewish artists to put out albums when they're not going to be able to make back at least something off it, and especially an album like this, which I'm not a performer, I'm a producer. So for me, this album, the sales is important, meaning that it can continue to allow me to put out more of these type of albums. Obviously, I'm losing money, and I can't continue to do it. So it's just important that the listeners know that that it is important to buy Jewish music and to support Jewish music. And without it, it's going to be very hard for artists to continue to be putting out material.
It's funny because when Yoni Z and I had the same conversation. Yoni is a very big advocate in this, and I know after talking with you a couple times, this is a big pet peeve of yours as well. That people are just into streaming it or sending it around. Choni Maleki even said to me, he heard when he dropped his album, when The Great Farby dropped, he said that people were getting it on WhatsApp and Telegram before he even sent it to the stores, and it's a chaval because not everybody's making millions of dollars off their albums here. And in your world, the production side of things, you see how much it costs and the efforts and the time and things like that. And it's a chaval,
Yeah, so it's definitely, it's something just for the listeners to know that we're not, the artists are not trying to be mean or trying to make you spend extra money. It's not anything to do with that. It's just from a practical perspective. If there's not money and sales coming off the album, it's very hard for the artist to continue, putting out high quality material.
Exactly. Now, you mentioned that a cappella production is different than a full studio production, like music with instruments and things like that. What are some of the differences behind it? I mean, obviously, the one notable one is no instruments. You don't have to have session musicians or things like that. But what are some of the differences?
Right, so there's definitely differences, meaning there's obviously certain things that are more simple about a cappella, but there's certain things that are more complicated. A regular production album, an album with music, there's if it's acoustically done,
right.
Your rhythm section, you get your drum, you get your guitars, the bass, and then you build off that. You add whatever brass or obviously that's less common nowadays, and everyone's transitioning to electronic or a blend.
Never. I'm a musician, man. I'm a musician. I'm not a fan of the electronic stuff. I play saxophone, drums, keyboard, guitar. I like it. I like the real instrument, something real that you can feel and you can hear. You can tell.
Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of layers. So once you get the music, then you record the vocals, and then so that whole music. So in one way, acapella is simpler in the way that you don't have to record the music, but in another way, it's a little more, I don't want to say complicated, but it's just a little more thorough, because at the end of the day, when you have a lot of tracks and you're recording music, a lot of times you can have something in the vocal that it could be, I would say, let's say a little imperfection or a little noise or something that you're not going to hear. So it's fine. But when you're recording a cappella and you could be stacking 100 tracks on each other, and there's a little noise here, or that breath they breathe at different times, and the s's at the end of a word, or it could drive you crazy. So there's a lot more tedious regarding the editing.
Right.
There's a lot more editing that goes into it. Also, you have to, at the end of the day, you got to fill in. If it's a little boring, you got to go now add something in. It's not like by music, you play your piano and you just put down a nice piano line. You just put in some form of music there, which could be done in a minute, as opposed to you have to go down and sing 30 tracks in it, and it could just it's very time consuming, right. Especially the way, there's different types of acapella. But what I aim to do, there's no imitation of instruments, there's no rhythm in there, there's nothing. So it's really everything is sung by mouth, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of tracks. Some sessions that have 200 tracks in them. Obviously at the end of the day, people just hear one thing, they don't know what goes into it.
Right.
But there could be on one song 200, even I think I had some of them in the 250 range. Wow. Of tracks, really recorded tracks. Meaning, if we're doing a harmony, we can do it 4 or 6 times. Then, if we're doing 6 harmonies at the same time,
wow,
there could be a lot going on at once. Although it sounds like it's not necessarily as full as real music, and but it's in a way very tedious and very time consuming. But I chose to go this way, even though I know there's a very talented acapella groups out there.
Yep.
Big fans of, and there's tremendous talent out there. But I chose to not go that direction. The reason for that is because I want to, during these times that people listen to Sefira music, is the times of Sefira and the 3 weeks, are times that we're supposed to be in a certain mindset. And I'm trying to, in a way, if I could get people into a certain perspective, then I've accomplished what I want to do with these albums. It's really just to put people in the mode. It's taking songs that are, already, it's interesting, because nowadays when you're producing, you got to pick a song and you got to take that song and wrap it in a nice arrangement and try to get people to connect to it. I'm taking songs that are already proven, meaning these are songs that people already like and they already know. And when you take a great song like that and you do it in its simplest form, you don't have to do much because the song itself talks for itself. When you have a song that's able to be sung in shul, and everyone sings, and there's no music there. It's just you hear everyone singing by kedusha and just singing harmony and shul, and it sounds beautiful already then. And it hits a certain, strikes a certain chord, and it hits home. Sometimes that can even be more powerful than when you put the biggest string arrangement underneath it. And something about the simplicity of things and just the song itself. Nowadays a lot of the songs don't necessarily have enough to carry with themselves. Meaning, like you take away the music, there could be, whatever. It's a different style. Music evolves. There's different styles of music, and obviously I'm not, I do produce that type of music as well. But at the same time, there's obviously music has evolved tremendously in the last few years. Obviously, you look back 20, 30 years, sure. And, even by taking this album, which are the songs of Baruch Levine, and doing them, Baruch Levine is not, 30 years ago. I think the oldest song on this album came out in 1995, and most of were actually on his album. So I think his first album was 2006. So we're talking about in the last, most of these songs in the last 15 years. Obviously some of them, 15, 20, maybe a little more. But Baruch, everyone knows Baruch Levine for he's able to, have heart-seeking songs. And his songs always, to me, were always very powerful, but not, not too old school, but very, very, very powerful songs. So, that's why I chose him.
So that's what I was going to say, meaning I would listen to the whole album through and through, and I noticed the difference between your a cappella albums and some of the other a cappella music that's out there is that yours is in its purest form. It's exactly what you said. It's just singing. It's like going to shul on Shabbos and singing. It's in its purest form. And I was listening to the song Harav Na. I mean, that's a Baruch Levine song. Big fan of Baruch Levine. I loved having him on the show. And I was listening to Harav Na on the new album, on your Kumzitz In The Rain album. And when it goes high, it just struck a chord in me, and it hit me right in the heart. And I was just like, wow. Yeah, so it's real. It's raw. It's pure. It's music as it's supposed to be. And it's not surrounded by different beatboxing and different things like that. It's real. It's raw. And it shows the pure talent of the musicians and the singers behind it. And it's amazing.
100%. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And what basically the idea here was not to try to replicate music, but it's a new, almost sounds like a new genre of basically trying to take that pureness, and I'm taking songs that cater to that you can sing the shop. You could sing naturally and doesn't need and again, obviously there's certain times I want to add more and maybe I should, but I'm trying to keep it in simple form. It's almost hard in a way to hold back. And to keep it simple is just really for this reason, that it's just, just to bring this point out on my last album, this is volume 4. Volume 3, we did the songs of Avi Rottenberg. And one of the songs, although most of those songs were older, we had one newer song, which is actually a song that I produced on Zvi Silverstein's duet album, Kol HaKochavim, where he did duets with 12 different singers. And one of the duets was with Avi Rottenberg, and Avi wrote a new song, and they sang it together. And I actually took their lead vocals, and we took away all the music, we added some vocals, and we added all the a cappella, voices, and added the kids in. And I remember, when I sent it to them, to A, B, and C, I remember them sending back, wow, this hit them a certain way that it did not hit them on the original album when we did it with music, with strings, and with everything. It struck a certain chord by them that was more powerful even. So yeah, sometimes less is more, and also just there's something special about, singing, obviously everyone knows there's a special koyach, there's a special, ability to move people. Right. And at the end of the day, music obviously, originally was music comes from the voice. Obviously, we play with instruments, and there's something very powerful to instruments, but we can't lose that simplicity. And obviously, most of the songs that come out today, I would never be able to do this with. It wouldn't sound good. Meaning, it wouldn't move people. A lot of the emotional drive in music today is in the music, which is a new involvement. And so I'm with this series in particular, I'm trying to take songs that are just pure within themselves. They're just good songs. You could sing them with 2-3 guys, and and will sound great. And I'm just trying to, wrap that in a presentation that could really move people. And Baruch Hashem, the feedback has been tremendous. People are, and it's not only that, I see online that a lot of people, as every album I put out of the series, because it's a series and it's a season lineup, people are catching on to it, and I see they're buying the older ones as well. So, it's not something really that gets outdated because it's something that's pure. That's,
right.
That's my opinion, but obviously that's speculation. But I'm just saying that I'm happy that people are connecting to it and people are able to be, moved by something that's pure and,
So
as music's evolving.
So how did you come up with the name of the album series, Kumzitz In The Rain? What's the story behind that?
So actually, when we were doing the first album, the questions, I'll just preface it by the question is definitely better than the answer. But when we were finishing up the first album, Volume 1 in 2011, I believe. I think we started in 2010. We started in 2011. We wanted a name for it. We didn't know, what to do. There were different names, that we were going through. At that point, there was very little of this, going on before the Hasidim started putting out these type of albums. Levtar was the one at the time who, in my opinion, Levtar is the best Acapella. Anyone listening here that is not aware of Levtar, you can check them out. Levtar Volume 1 and 3 are 2 Acapella albums. Great Acapella albums. A lot of my inspiration, a lot of the technique and stuff I got from them, from listening to their albums. Tremendous. They're a tremendously talented group, and their acapellas are unbelievable. I was actually just listening to it this week. When you produce an album and spend so many hours on it, you can't listen to it for the first 6 months to a year after you put it out. So, acapella used to listen. So I was actually listening to Levtar. But so we really didn't know. There was a lot of names coming through, and we wanted to get something that has a. I don't know, there's a lot, obviously, a few different answers I've given. And as a matter of fact, on the first album, we had a competition that the name is up to, it's for the listener's interpretation, and send in your why you think we named it this. And people were sending in all sorts of answers, rain, and, Kumzitz is the times of Mashiach, and a purity, and all types of answers. People, in our wildest dreams would never thought of. But obviously, first of all, one reason you can say is that the word rain in Yiddish means pure. And, it's a little play on words. The Kumzitz In The Rain is, it's Kumzitz, but it's the purity of the Kumzitz, and it's the, just the voices and everything else. Rain also symbolizes a certain relaxedness, and then rain and Kumzitz. I wouldn't say there's a concrete answer, but someone gave the name and had a good vibe to it, and I liked it. I thought it, it displayed a little what the music stands for.
Right.
It a little, even though it's not necessarily a definitive answer, but listen, I used to get a lot of those questions when we put out the first album. At this point, I think people are scared to ask it, so it's always
I'm
good
not
to.
scared. Don't worry.
But
we asked the tough questions over here. That's pretty funny. So it's kind of like pick the name. What'd you give the winner? The free album?
Free album of number 2.
There you go.
That's great. At that point, we weren't sure if there was going to be a number 2, but Baruch Hashem, people took to the albums, and
now you're up to 4.
Yeah, up to 4 because there was a 4-year break between 1 and 2, but from 2 was in 2015, 3 was in 2017, so there's 2 years between 2 and 3, and 2 years between 3 and 4, and we'll see, depending on how the response is. Maybe we'll see if there'll be one next year, or we'll wait again 2 years, or see how it goes.
So when you pick the different tracks for the albums, it seems like you mentioned on one of them you had all A.B. Rottenberg tracks, and this one was all Baruch Levine. So what's your reasoning behind picking those guys to?
That's a very good question. It's a 2-part question. Firstly, the first 2 albums, were not a specific composer. They were assorted songs that I liked, songs that I think were popular in shuls, and some that weren't popular, to try to bring them back. From Volume 3, we have the songs of Rottenberg, and Volume 4, we have the songs of Baruch Levine. When Volume 3 came along, I said, let's take a little turn. From 3 also there was a little turn, the fact that it became junior. The last 2 albums are junior, they're kids based. primarily kids, and even though there's adult vocals as well, all of the songs have kids representation, whether it's in the background vocals or something. And matter of fact, it's funny. I was actually talking to Rivi Schwebel. He sings on a few songs on this album. He was telling me that you can't explain why, he can't put his finger on it. There's something about the kids, and when you put kids in with adults and you have that together, it just he's saying to him personally, it just hits home so strong, and it moves him like he hasn't been moved by by other songs, even with music, like we were talking about before.
I think it has something to do with the harmonies, with the different ranges of the pitch, and then when they come together, it kind of builds this like synergy of music and harmony that really like hits you where you want to hit you. I mean, that's kind of how I felt when listening to some of the songs, is that like you have that dynamic of pitch from the kids and the adults on the album, but then when they meet in the middle, when they kind of meet in the middle and their pitch kind of meets in the middle, it really does something. It really transforms that song, transforms the music.
Yeah. So 100%. So Baruch Hashem, people have really been connecting, and it happens to be volume 3. Did very well. Very well, whatever very well is in 2019. I can talk about from feedback perspective. It did. Volume 3 was and I realized from there that there's something people really connect to the kids. Obviously, there's some people that rather enjoy adults, and we try to blend the two. But it's hard to make everyone happy. But at the same time, so when Volume 3 came, I wanted to do more theme based. The reason for this is that a lot of there are composers out there.
Right.
At the end of the day, composers are very underappreciated, and not underappreciated, but they're in a way not they're not known. Everyone knows the singer, everyone knows Yaakov Shweki, Mordechai Shapiro. No one knows what's behind these these singers.
Behind the scenes.
No one knows what goes on behind the scenes, and at the end of the day, everyone always says this in the music industry, you could have the best singer, the best arrangement, the best musicians. If this composition's not there, you're not going to move people. It's not going to have an emotional impact. The song at the end of the day is, obviously you can have a great song, and if it's not arranged well, it's not sung well, it's not done well, it won't either move people. But you can have the greatest of the great in every area, but if it's lacking in composition, you will not have an emotional impact on people. So, or the emotional impact that you should have. So, I wanted to, give, to get a composer, to show his material, to showcase it in a way, first of all, to have a theme base, but also to showcase what this composer has done for us, what this composer has given us, the compositions. And obviously, on this album, Baruch Levine is a singer, but Baruch Levine, before he became a singer, was also a composer. And there are songs he has out there that a lot of people do not know are his songs. And, just to name a few, on this album, Birchas Habayis, most people think is A.B. Romberg's song because it was originally on Aish Volume 2, which is A.B. GoSimcha. Just a shadow. We're actually working on Aish Volume 3, which we hope to be out in the next few months. But so a lot of people, think that Birchas Habayis is A.B.'s song, a song like Chasayf, which Yaakov Shweki sang on his first album. People don't know. People don't know whose song that is. Shabbos Hayom Hashem from Shlomi Gertner. These are all Baruch songs, and a composer. Really, at the end of the day, his name doesn't go on the CD cover, and obviously there's people that are very involved and are very into the music stats and everything, and they get every jacket and they look through it, and those guys will know the composers, but the Amoinam, the average listener, does not know, and I just think, it's important in a way that people should realize what these composers have given us. Someone like Baruch, what he's given us, and Birchas Habayis is sung every night at chuppahs. These songs, Chasayf is Chanukah. You come around, it's played everywhere, every event, everyone, every Jew in the world, knows the song. So there's tremendous songs there. And obviously the ones that people do know about is like Kani and Vahu Keli. Obviously, there's the very popular ones, but. I just wanted to have a theme based, and at the same time, that people should recognize what these composers have given to us. We shouldn't take it for granted.
No, for sure. That's so true, and you're right in that fact that people don't really know what's going on behind the scenes, and when you find out, like, oh man, this guy wrote that song, it really gives you a new perspective on the music, and it's well, that people don't know more about the producers and more about the composers and more about the that side of things, and that's the talent. You're right when you said it yourself, that you can have the best of the best and everything, but if the arrangement is off, it's not going to do what you want to do. The goal is to hit that emotional point and really drive it home for people. And yeah, I've heard tons of songs that just don't do it for me. And then, like I said, I was listening to some of your songs, and I've a lot of Baruch stuff, a lot of Baruch Levine stuff. It really hits home. It really gets you where you want it to get you. And I hear you. I agree with you on that 100%.
Yeah.
So,
there's even the other element that there's a song here called Shifchi Kamayim Libeh. I was actually in camp with Baruch years ago. He was a division, and I was a counselor under him. And we actually have a close connection from then. And I recall that, in 2000, I think it was 2005, it was even before he put out his own albums.
Yeah.
So obviously in that year in camp, it was before he put out his album, he taught the camp Zakeni. He said, as I'm putting out an album, it's going to be on there. Oh, nice song. No one knew at that point that it would become
the hit.
Yeah.
My kids sing that song, man.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But that song was, it's. I think it has a story with himself. I believe that's that song. I think Baruch his first two children were girls, then his third was a boy, and I think right when the baby was born, I think he composed that song like right after that. He took it to sing. He had the inspiration then, and he wrote that song. But this is going back a while back. But he, so the song Shefchi Kamayim Libech, he actually sang it in cantata. And I thought then, I didn't realize it was Baruch's song. I thought it was like one of these old songs from, the 70s, 60s. Right. I don't know, people didn't even know where it's from. I just thought it was that type of song. It's simple and just hits the spot. And then years later, only I think on his fifth album or, recently, and a few albums ago, maybe his fourth album, his fifth album, all of a sudden I see track 9 or track 8, all at the end of the album, it's Shifchi, I'm listening to them, like, Baruch, what's that? This is your song? She's like, yeah, it's my song, whatever, we never put it out, we put on this album. And I was like, wow, this song, and I felt the song never took off like it should have. And a lot of the feedback I'm getting is from that song. People are really like, wow, this song's really, they don't even know where it's from. That's also funny. It didn't take off like the way it should have. But listen, who knows? And maybe it could do something now. And then at the same time, people are really being moved by that song. It's a simple song. It might be the simplest song on the album. It's simple. The whole song is it's 3 chords. It's just very simple, but it just hits the spot.
Right.
So I'm very happy that song made it on the album.
So I wanted to ask you, when did Acapella start to become a thing in the Jewish world? I know, you have all these Acapella groups. You have, the Maccabees, the Y Studs, the, Lev Tahor, Bitachon, all these, Acapella groups. But, when did Acapella become, such a thing in the Jewish world? I know, it obviously gets popular around Sefira in the 3 weeks when we can't really listen to music. But, it's still an anomaly to me, when it became, such a thing.
Yes, it's a good question. As far as I don't know what was going on, in the 80s and the early 90s. What was happening before? I think Lev Tahor was the first Acapella group. Following that, obviously, there've been a lot of Acapella albums, and yeah, definitely now Acapella's become the more recent, the Maccabees and A Capella and 613, which is more like a group, and they perform live, and they got the beatboxing. So that's a more recent, evolvement. I don't know how far back, I don't know what they listened to in 1970 during Sefira. It's a very good question. I don't know what was Acapella music, or maybe I don't know. It's a good question. I can do some research on that.
Nice. And what would you say is what's your favorite thing that you've ever produced? Who's your favorite artist you ever produced, or favorite song that you've ever recorded and produced?
It's a loaded question.
Mm-hmm. I told you we ask the tough questions over here. We don't hold back.
I can tell you what to me is really was always cool is that when you grow up on certain people's music, I remember being a little boy in camp when Shalshalis 1 came out. They used Esainai the first year and Ekra, those songs. And when I actually got to record with Shalshalis and produce an album for them, to me that was like, wow, you grew up with them. So obviously there's something very cool about recording and working with the artists that you grew up with. I was able to do a song together with MBD with when he did that duet with Zvi Silverstein, and we did a song with Aaron Fried and A.B. And that's like, to me, it was wow. I grew up listening to these guys, and I was listen to every album, every song they put out, and to be able to work with them is something really it's amazing. And so definitely every artist brings something to the table. There are a lot of them that are a lot of fun. Obviously, someone like Joey Newcomb comes with this that whole personality, and someone
Joey's great.
Someone like Mordechai Shapiro has tremendous energy, and someone says everyone brings their thing. I did an album with Yossi Green. Obviously that's like wow, do an album with Yossi Green and to sit with him, and he has so much knowledge and so much history, and he's so much of a part of Jewish music, and to be able to do an album together with him and hear what he has to offer and just to work with him was tremendous.
Right. Do you actually sing yourself or play any instruments? I would assume you play something as you're a composer.
Yeah, I play piano. I play a little guitar, but primarily piano. And I don't really sing. I sing a little. I do some background vocals on this album, and I sung in choirs and stuff, but not much of a soloist.
Nice. Now, what would you say? What would in your industry, being in the back end of things, where would you say the future of Jewish music is headed?
Ooh, that is the $1 million question. That's a very good question. I really don't know. It's so hard to tell. Just in the last 3-4 years, the turns that Jewish music has been taking is so drastic that it's really hard to even predict what's going to be in 6 months from now. I mean,
right.
It's very, like, I listen back to things I did 2 years ago, and I say, wow, this is like old-fashioned. Right. I used to listen back to things 10 years ago and say, oh, we advanced here and we advanced there, and that was as recording, the whole, transition from analog to digital recording, where
right.
But like now you're listening like 2 years back and say, wow, like that is like, that is like old. That's like outdated. I would never arrange a song like that. That's like 1972, and we're talking about 2015. So 2017. It's very hard to tell where Jewish music is heading. Who knows? I don't know. It's hard to tell, but I guess we'll see as it evolves and as things turn where we head.
Makes sense. Now, as a producer, what's your take on how people are taking like Goyish songs and turning them into Jewish music? I mean, we can't hide the fact that a lot of songs nowadays have been taken from their non-Jewish counterparts. What's your take on all that?
Talking about composition, or are you talking about arrangements?
A little bit of both, and a little bit of both.
It's a good question. Again, you're asking very good questions today.
What can I say?
So regarding arrangements, I mean, listen. Regarding songs, everyone has what to say about this. It's a good question. It's a good conversation. I think ultimately, I don't know. It depends. It really depends. There's some secular songs. There's some big composers that will tell you they got inspiration from country music in the 70s of what was going on then, and obviously, secular music has evolved as well. So, secular music today is almost, it's not barely listenable and barely, what I mean, barely listenable. I mean, it's not really suitable. It's not appropriate. That's what I mean. So
it's not music.
Right. Yeah, but besides, I'm not talking from a music class. I'm just saying, obviously, the content, as the world evolves, the content evolves.
Right.
So it's definitely, it's hard to know. So from the composition perspective, I don't know. It's hard to say. I can't say I'm a big fan of that. I don't know necessarily that that's what people are doing. It could be, they'll take a few notes and they'll say, oh, that was nice. Let's try to incorporate that into a song. I don't believe that, straight up, ripping off secular songs. But regarding arrangements and vibes and stuff like that could be a little more common. Listen, at the end of the day, there's Chazal speak out, Chachma B'Gayim Tam, and there's definitely a lot of Chachma out there. And I do think that what people will do, I do have times that someone will come and say, here's a song, just see the way that they're playing this drums over here, or this type of feeling. Can we try to incorporate that into the song? So I don't know. Listen, obviously, Jewish music has to be. The big question is, what's Jewish music? Is it Jewish because there's Jewish words, or
there you go.
Obviously, it's hard to know. And obviously, this is about this interview is about the Kumzitz In The Rain, and that's the total other side where I'm trying to just stay pure and not, have any influence on anything. And there is something, to that. And people actually connect that. And I know people, I can tell you, that do not listen to any Jewish music and like a Kumzitz In The Rain. So try to explain that. I mean, that obviously shows there's something there that's very real that's connecting them.
Because that kedusha, the spark of kedusha, is in that music, and you're bringing it out in its purest form, and it really, like I said, it hits a chord, it hits somebody there, man, and it's just like really hits you.
I have people that tell me, "Wow, I heard the sample, I bought the album. I have not bought a Jewish album in years. Like, I don't listen to any Jewish music. I listen to only secular music." And to me, that was like, wow. Like, people, you look at this album, you say, wow, it's a yeshivish album, so to say. That, like, it's no, it's old people, it's just locals. But obviously, there's something there that hit this person that, I was blown away. That could be the best form of feedback that I could possibly get on such an album.
See, that's why I love doing this. That's why I love talking with you guys, because everyone's got a story about their music, and there's always something that this kind of music, Jewish music, always inspires people. I've gotten some crazy stories from some of our past guests, how their songs are really giving people chizuk. Like Joey was telling me, even like some guy got in touch with him like Erev Yom Kippur or and told him how he listened. The story. And he's listened to the album, and it just like really struck a deep chord with him and helped him really get through Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. And like I hear this stuff all the time. It's incredible. So you see the real power of the music and what it has to offer and what it can do to somebody. And you never know what your album or what your song is gonna, or what's gonna do for somebody, and how it's gonna impact them. And it may not compensate you monetarily in this world, but in the next world, you never know what you never know what's going to be from it.
Yep. Hope so.
No, for sure, man. But no, it's really, it's amazing. And like I said, you're changing I guess you could say you're changing the game when it comes to acapella, because you're keeping it real. With these Kumzitz In The Rain albums, and please God, you should make a fifth one, because I'll be very excited to hear it. And I tell you, I was listening to your album like for the past 3 days, not just because there's nothing else to listen to, but because it's good, and it like puts you in a good mindset, and it helps you really connect and puts your neshama in the right place. So I thank you for that, my friend, for bringing this amazing album to the world. So what else is in the future for Doni Gross and your production company and everything that you do and more?
Yeah, so I'm working on now an album with it's a big album for me. I'm very excited to be working on it with A.B. Romberg and Shlomo Simcha. We're doing Aish Volume 3, which some of the classics of Jewish music has come through Aish. A lot of people, again, don't know what Aish has brought to the table, but just to name a few songs from A.B. Romberg: Habeit, Yidin Nefesh, Elon, Miadir, which is sung still Echopaz. It's actually a funny story. I mean, there's a little topic, but I was at a chuppah, and right. and I was standing next to someone, and they played back to back 3 songs in a row. They played Miadir, they played Birchas Habayis from Aish 2, and then the kids walked down to Elon. 3 songs in a row were Aish songs. And someone turns to me and is like, I don't get it. They've been playing the same songs for 25 years every night. They can't get new songs. So, again, that just, talking on this point, I think just brings out the same thing. There's a reason why, these songs are being sung at chuppahs, because there's something very real to them. And, with this series, that's what I'm trying to do. Obviously, people nowadays want to hear a different style of music. And, yeah, there's some that don't, would rather hear the old stuff. But at the end of the day, music has evolved. Right. But the album that we're doing with them is we're trying to keep it very old school. We're trying to keep it. Obviously we have the technology in 2019 that's able to give it a very high quality, but we're trying to keep it very acoustic. There's I don't think any electric on the whole album. It's a very real album, and it's AB's compositions, new compositions. AB hasn't put out a new album, I think, since Journeys 4, which is in 2004 maybe. So it's been a long time, and we're happy. We're happy to be putting such an album out, and we're trying to wrap that up in the next few months. And now, of course, there's a lot of other little projects.
Yes.
That's the exciting one.
That's great. Wow. Well, Doni, it was a pleasure having you on the show. I'm so happy I got to learn a little bit more, and I'm sure our listeners are going to be very happy that they get to learn a little bit more about the production side of things. And, it's one of those, like, where music comes from. Those kind of videos that you see, like how it's made. It's cool. It's exciting, and we get to see a whole new side of things. And we talked about a cappella. We talked about all these different things that you're working on. It was amazing. I'm so happy you came on the show. It's a perfect way to start off right after Pesach. Everybody's get back in the swing of things. And I wish you much hatzlacha and continue doing good things and bringing great music to the world and working with amazing artists. And you keep me posted when the next album comes out and more stuff comes out. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Aldo, thank you so much for having me on the podcast, and thank you to the listeners for listening.
You've just listened to another wonderful episode of GoSimcha the podcast. For more news, updates, and information on our next episode, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram at GoSimcha Live, and don't forget to check out the show notes and videos on www.gosimcha.com along with zeradio.com. Thanks for listening, and remember, Go Simcha!